Hi there. Here is a continuation about the passive form. I explained last time the first part, and this is the second part. So if you're interested, continue watching. I'm going to share my screen. So last time we already looked at the passive form, the forms, the active form, and the passive forms. And then this is the last slide. You can see here the passive form or the active form, the focus is different. If you look at this sentence example, Steve Jobs and his team at Apple invented the iPhone in 2007. We focus on the subject. The subject here is Steve Jobs and his team at Apple. Another one is Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1450. The same, we focus on the subject. Louis Larson first invented the hamburger in 1895. The focus here is all the subjects, not the invention. We'll move on to the focus now. Change the focus to the object. The iPhone was invented by Steve Jobs and his team at Apple in 2007. We change now the focus, we change it to the object, the invention, the iPhone. The printing press was invented by Johannes Gutenberg in 1450. The focus here again is the printing press. The hamburger was first invented by Louis Larson in 1895. So if you see the previous slide and this slide, you can see the meanings, the contents are the same, but the focus is different. The first focus on the subject, that means the person or the people who do that, but the second one focus on the object, that is the invention. Okay, now let's take a look at now. The passive is not another way of expressing the same sentence in the active. Sometimes we may think that, we can express a sentence in the two ways. One is in the active form and the other one is in the passive form. But it is not like that. We choose the active or the passive depending on what we're more interested. That means, which are you more interested? If you're more interested in the subject, and you use the active. And if you're more interested in the object, you use the passive. Okay, now in most cases now, by and the agent, what they call the agent, they are omitted in the passive sentences. Because sometimes we think that whenever we use passive form, there must be a by and the agent, but it's not necessary in some cases. For example, we omit, that means we take out, okay? Because number one, the agent is not important. Or number two, it is not known, we don't know. Or everybody knows that it is understood. Example, butter is made from milk. Butter is made from milk. By whom? Can be anyone. Not important, okay? The agent is not important. The White House was built in 1800. Our focus is the White House, not by who. In this case, the White House is more important and the year is more important, but who is not important. A mobile phone was stolen from the hospital. We don't know who stole it. Paper was invented in China. We don't know exactly who invented. Or we are not interested in the person, but we're more interested in this object, paper. I was born in 1995. Of course, we know by whom, by my mother, but we never say, I was born by my mother in 1995. We never say that because it is understood. The escaped prisoner has been recaptured. So we don't know who recaptured, but probably this is understood because whenever a prisoner or whenever a thief is captured or arrested, it is by the police. So it can be understood or not known exactly. So we don't need by and the agent here. 500 workers have been made redundant. So these 500 people, they lost their job. They have been made redundant. By whom? Probably the company, but we don't know who exactly, the manager, the boss, or we don't know exactly, or the team. It's not important in this case, or not known. So in this kind of situation, when you don't know the agent, when the agent is not important, when the agent is understood, we don't need by and the agent. Okay, another one is sometimes we prefer to begin a sentence with what is known, what we know, and end with what is new. So it is easier for the listener or it is easier for the reader to understand better. So what is known comes first and what is new comes later. So in this case, we use the passive and the new one could be the agent of the active form. Example, calls and songs. Everyone knows that. Calls and songs are used by birds to communicate. Calls and songs are used by birds to communicate. So calls and songs, everyone is familiar. By who? By what? By birds. Is new. What a lovely painting. And they said, yes, it was painted by Van Gogh. It was the painting. The first one is it, the painting. And we use that one first. It was painted by Van Gogh. Easier to understand. Thousands of people have been made homeless by a blast in Beirut. So recently it happened here. So thousands of people have been made homeless. People, they lost their home. Another one we use passive form is that informal writing or informal speaking, informal language. We often use you or they to refer to the people in general or to no person in particular. So sometimes, to avoid passive, because sometimes when you use passive, it sounds unnatural, right? So to avoid the passive, usually we use you or they. But in this case, you do not mean I'm talking to you, not like that. You mean everybody, anyone who does that, okay? They, we don't know exactly. We don't mean the people, a group of people, not like that, but just to avoid passive form. You can use you or they. Example, you can buy anything in Bujok market. I may say to you, but I don't refer you exactly. What I want to mean is that anyone can buy. Okay, anyone can buy. You don't mean you exactly, but anyone can buy. Anyone who is interested can buy anything in Bujok market. Or we can say, anything can be bought in Bujok market. We can say like that. But here we avoid the passive and you use you. They are building a new airport soon. They are building a new airport soon. The passive would be a new airport will be built soon. We avoid the passive and they say they are building. Who are they? We don't know. So the people who are going to build. And you can't take photographs in the museum. The passive would say taking photographs in the museum is not allowed. But we just say you. Who is you? Anyone who goes to the museum. No one is allowed there. But also there are some past participle that we use more like adjectives and they look like passive form, but they are not real passive form. For example, impressed in this case, impress. I'm very impressed by your work. They're not necessarily like a passive form, but we use them as a past participle means verb 3 form. He got disappointed with his exam results. Disappointed is the past participle. Were excited about going to the beach. Excited is the past participle. We use as an adjective. Okay, the last one is that when and where do we usually use the passive? Where can we find them? In what kind of situation can we find the passive? When talking about inventions, because we are more interested in the inventions than the inventors, and very often you will find the passive. What are invention? Cars, airplanes, iPhones, food, okay? All kinds of inventions. Usually we'll see the passive. What about when giving news? You're the journalist. When you give news to the media, we don't want this one to be personal, so we give news using the passive mostly. When you write academic writing, when you're in an academic setting, you usually use the passive form because we don't use I, or we all the time, but instead we use the passive. Another one is in some notices or announcements, the passive is used because the subject is not important, but they are more important. For example, eating prohibited. Eating is prohibited, okay? So thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something from these video lessons. And again, I'm gonna post more videos in the future. So if you think they are helpful, please don't forget to like our page and then to share with your friends also. So see you again soon.